You have a fresh slate. Whoever's listening to this right now, you have a fresh slate. Think about what that means. It means that everything that you have known to be true up to this point about what you're capable of, what is available for you, what you should create, how you should create, how it will monetize, all of it. Like whatever, like you have believed to be true up until now, however it has worked for you in the past, however you have seen it modeled to you in the past, all of that is out the window now. And that is what is keeping you stuck, is holding and clinging to that need to control the outcome or figure it out or plan for it. And all that is being asked of you right now is to lock in to what really lights your soul on fire. If you have a fresh slate. You have just graduated timelines. You have shifted into a whole new timeline now. This message isn't for everyone. This is for those that you know you have shifted and you are stepping into a whole new timeline, but you're feeling resistance, and the resistance is you trying to figure it out. The resistance is you trying to compartmentalize things, which the mind loves to do, to try to make sense of stuff and try to figure it out. And you keep relying on what you have known to work for you in the past, or how it needed to come through you in the past, or whatever. Like the message is coming through is it is so beyond what you can perceive of right now, and your only guiding light is what lights you up right now, what gives you joy. It needs to be simple. It needs to be way simpler than you're making it. You're making this whole this whole timeline shift into your highest divine reality, an actual project. And it's not a project. It's a you being here in the moment of now, fully tapped in and tuned in to what is lighting you up and following that nudge. That's it. And that means if what's lighting you up right now is to chill and go for a walk, then chill and go for a walk. I know personally, for me, what was lighting me up was to hang out by the pool and absorb the beautiful nature and the luxurious lifestyle that I am blessed to live in. The palm trees, the sunsets, the hummingbirds, the pool, the long morning walks with my fur babies, just diving into the moment, the coffee in the morning, the yoga, the bar classes, the sacred walks I go on where I am just anchored in presence and speaking into existence and declaring what I am available for, collapsing timelines, like being here now, fully open to receive, fully anchored in trust and knowing, because that is what you're being guided to follow right now is the knowing. It's not a tangible, concrete thing that you need to figure out. It's the knowing, it's the nudge, it's the frequency of fun, it's the frequency of pleasure, it's the frequency of joy. And from that, you will receive downloads, creative sparks of insight to take action on. There's I there's so much that has poured through in just the last few days of just being so present in the moment, anchored in pleasure and joy and fun, not doing energy, being present with the moment in full gratitude and appreciation for all of the blessings, and just anchored into my body and trusting the urges and the creative impulses. And so much that I will share eventually on this channel has been birthed through that. Little downloads and big downloads that have come through have completely like sparked a whole new creation that I can't figure out, and I don't want to. I can't figure out and I don't want to. I just want to be here present in the moment following the fun and the joy and the creative insight, creating from flow, creating from frequency, creating from trust and knowing in what wants to come through me is enough. Whatever wants to come through me is enough. The desires are enough. The desires are like little, the desires and the declaring that I'm worthy of receiving those is enough. Like all of that is enough. And this is a message that's coming through for so many that are shifting and you're on the cusp of stepping into your highest timeline, but it's not going to look like your old timeline. It's not going to be the way that you used to do things. It's not going to be the way you created in the past. It's not the way you've manifested in the past. It's not the ways that have worked for you in the past. Like the entire operating system that you are now living from has completely shifted and is now a complete 180 from what you have known to be true thus far. And it's this clinging to the old identity or the old way of doing things or the old way of like creating and manifesting or the old way of trying to figure things out, the logical, linear timeline and all the things that the mind loves to focus on. That's not how this new timeline is created. Your highest new Earth 5D timeline is not created from you following logical linear steps. And when you surrender to this and you fully trust this, which requires courage and faith to be so anchored in the now, trusting and knowing and following your inner guidance, because as you do, you will be guided to say no to things and you will be guided to say yes to things that are a full body yes, and things that are a full body no, you won't be able to continue with. And you will be guided to have your sacred nose and draw your energetic lines in the sand and your physical lines, your boundaries of what you're available for, declaring what you're available for and saying yes to only that and no to everything else. So it will get you out of your comfort zone. You need to be comfortable in the uncomfortableness of the unknown. At first, it will feel very uncomfortable. And then that transmutes into aliveness, limitless possibility, where you trying to figure anything out feels so distorted and so heavy. Just the slightest bit of efforting, the slightest bit of like trying to make something happen, the slightest bit of trying to figure something out to try to, like, all of that will begin to feel so distorted and so heavy that the only thing that will resonate with you is being so anchored in your truth and knowing and taking the most divinely aligned, inspired, sacred action steps from there in the moment. And that's all that will feel good to you. That's all that will resonate with you. That's all that will light you up. And you will feel that as soon as you try to jump ahead, as soon as you try to project into the future how you think something should unfold, as soon as you try to figure it out, you're going to lose your magnetism. You're going to lose that inner joy, that creative spark, because now you are trying to compartmentalize infinite divine intelligence and put it into boxes as if you know best on how it should all play out, which is completely ridiculous that you would think that you know best when the infinite intelligence that's running the show has a much bigger, obviously, right? Like you're going up against infinite intelligence, the little mind. It feels as if you're fighting yourself and you have this inner struggle because at the core level, you are fighting yourself. The illusion of the ego is winning in those moments when you feel this inner um, turmoil. And it's because you're fighting against yourself at a core level. Your infinite intelligence that is you, that's beating your heart, that's looking through your eyes right now, that is the source of all of your creative life force energy, sparks of creation that are fueled by that life force energy. And then you have this egoic mind that's doubting it or trying to figure it out or trying to put it into a box or make sense of it or put it into some linear timeline or this or that. And it feels like an inner tug of war that's happening between the mental realm and what your heart knows to be true and what your soul came here to do, which is just play and create and have fun. And so it is in the not doing, it is in the being that all things will be created. It is in the undoing and the not doing and the effortless action, so to speak, because you will be guided to take action, but it'll feel like the most aligned, effortless action. It won't take effort. It'll feel like fun. It'll feel like play. It'll be in alignment with the vision that is anchored in your knowing, even though you're not privy to the whole thing. And how you feel, your joy, your lightness, your expansiveness around it is how you know it's in alignment with the highest vision, with the highest timeline. But it's going to require all of your faith and trust. And as you do that, the mind will come on board with the what the heart knows to be true and start to take its rightful place as the tool that gets to be utilized by the divine will that is expressing through you. The mind will be utilized as a tool instead of some threat prevention, trying to figure it out, trying to run the show kind of thing. Like you'll come into alignment and congruence and coherence between the mind and heart. And it's going to require that you forget and throw out the rule book of everything you've known to be true up until this point. It doesn't make any logical sense. It doesn't make logical sense to anybody that you're probably talking to. You're in your immediate environment unless they're on this journey. It's not going to make logical sense. It's going to require that you, here's the thing, it requires that you release the identity that had to grip the steering wheel and control everything in order to survive or in order to get ahead or in order to get successful, in order to carve out some kind of success or stability or safety for yourself or whatever. That that old version, that old identity that you are transcending, you can't take with you. And so what happens is as you actually get closer to fully tipping into your highest timeline, it's that identity that gets triggered. It's not the truth of who you are. It's just a one timeline out of infinite timelines that you've been locked into based on your conditioned past. And it's what is familiar. And as you're tipping into the unknown, that old identity, that old timeline that you've been playing in is going to try to grasp on to whatever has worked in the past and whatever is familiar. So that's what's coming through right now. You just need to play and have fun. That's it. You get to play and have fun, and you get to follow your joy, and you get to get paid to follow your joy because that's ultimately how you're going to be divinely compensated for your genius, for your magic, for your sacred medicine, which is probably nothing close to what you actually think it is right now. You don't need a certificate for this. You don't need a course for this. You are it. You are, you're it. It's your frequency, it's your presence, it's whatever you want to create. And so back to the fresh slate, because this is one of the strong things coming through right now. You have a fresh slate right now. So if you could just forget that you have a past and or history, because you ultimately don't. You are always here. The past and the past, the memories, and like the old way of doing things, those have all been movie scenes called your life that you referred to as your life, but they have just come and go through the screen of your conscious presence and awareness. You are the conscious presence and awareness. and you have been locked into a certain timeline due to the focusing mechanism that you are. You focused consciousness and your awareness based on what you have believed to be true about yourself and reality and existence up until this point, and it has solidified and collapsed timeline, so to speak, into a certain timeline, into a certain identity, which for most of you, if you're listening to this for a long time, has been a wounded identity that has been conditioned over time by society and your childhood and all these other things, and you have allowed that identity through no fault of your own, just it's just ignorance because you don't know any better, and that's part of this journey. But the veil of ignorance has been lifted. You now see truly who and what you are, and that old identity has been what you've been locked into for a large part of your life, if not your entire lifetime. So of course, when that old identity is being uh, you're it's like a gravitational pull, like you're leaving that, you're collapsing time around that timeline and the version of you that already is living your highest divine reality. And it's like there's like this gravitational pull from the old identity that will keep you, for lack of a better word, being it'll, pulled back or identified with the old timeline and the old identity, which is rooted in fear-based consciousness. It'll feel like that, but what's really happening as you feel yourself like going, like breaking through that gravitational pull, like that gravitational pull is like a metaphor for the strengthening of your broadcast signal and your frequency. It's like a radio channel tuned to one radio station. You've been tuned to a radio station called this identity over here that has all of these problems and dramas and limitations and limited possibilities, and has conditioned you to believe a certain way and perceive a certain way, and reality has reflected back to you that timeline up until this point. And then you begin to change channels, right, through a new frequency, but there's some static there as you jump into the new frequency timeline. And that static there, that feeling like there's a lot of resistance, that feeling like you're breaking through resistance or whatever, or that, all of that static is just the old timeline phasing out, the old identity phasing out. It doesn't mean that you're further, and this is what the mind will think when you're going through this static phase, when you're going through this what feels like maybe even a contraction phase, or what feels like you're going backwards phase, or that things aren't working out for you because you can't cling to the old ways anymore, but you also haven't fully tuned into the frequency of the new timeline. It can feel like a lot of static and resistance and contraction. And that actually is an indicator that you're closer to the timeline than you collapsing into that new frequency timeline than what your mind even thinks. Your mind will interpret that like you're behind, or you're falling backwards, or you're backsliding, or you're you may find yourself releasing things that you thought you already released or whatever, or you may find that you feel quote unquote stuck somehow, like you can't go back, but you also haven't landed into the new frequency. And that is actually not a sign that you're falling backwards at all. It actually is a sign that you're about to fully collapse time around that new frequency timeline that you are just calling into your present moment experience right now. But it requires you being able to emit a new signal to the field, not the signal, not the broadcasting signal of the old identity anymore. And so that old identity, because that has a lot of momentum around it and energy around it, is unwinding, and it feels uncomfortable. It feels like resistance. It feels heavy. It can feel like contraction, but that actually is a sign that you're breaking through, for lack of a better word, into the new timeline. What's really happening is that other timeline that is your highest divine reality already exists. The identity that you thought you were this whole time is not you. You are like the selector of the frequency that you want to play in. The problem that most people have, which you've most likely seen through this a long time ago, is that most people are running around on autopilot based on their conditioned knee-jerk responses that they've acquired over the course of their incarnation here, and they have called it their identity. Like, this is how they are, this is who they are, this is what they are. And if you're listening to this, then you already know you're none of those things. So now you get to play. Now you get to play and create from a higher vantage point, from a different, but it's a whole new operating system. Like, you've graduated from the old timeline that worked in a certain way. It worked very logically. It worked very linear, linearly. I don't know. It worked through efforting. It worked through performance. It worked through hustling. It worked through trying to figure things out. It worked through trying to fix things. It worked through trying to fix you. You are not here to be fixed. You are not a project. You can't treat this as a project. I think I opened up with that earlier on in this episode. You are not a project. This is not a project. It's you going in trying to fix things and figure everything out and treating yourself as if you are this project and this is something you need to figure out is what is keeping you from fully just stepping into your highest timeline and playing and creating what wants to be birthed through you, which will feel very effortless, easy, and fun. That is the new paradigm of what working means. Working is not hustling, efforting, trying to figure things out, trying to make things work, or anything like that. The new earth paradigm is about passionately playing and following your joy and creating whatever wants to be created through you from that point, being a divine vessel and a channel for whatever wants to be birthed through you. Play, fun, expansiveness. That is working in New Earth. It is not about slaving away. It is not about trying to figure everything out and plan everything 5 moves ahead and live in this constant state of threat prevention or trying to figure everything out. It requires a full trust fall with God, with the universe, with the divine intelligence that is you, that lives through you and as you. And your faith will be challenged and tested on this journey. Because the only thing you can take with you to the new timeline is truth, your authenticity, no mass. And that means fully owning and claiming what it is you actually desire. And not denying what you actually desire. So back to the fresh slate thing, you have a fresh slate here. If you didn't have any if you just pretended for a second, you're not your past, but you keep going there. But if you could just drop it all for a second and there were no rules, and you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt in your heart of hearts, you knew in your bones, you were just going to be what, if you just followed what really lit you up, you would be divinely compensated wildly and abundantly. And you just, if we said that was it, if God said just follow your heart, whatever that is, and you will be divinely compensated. And there were no rules around it, and there were no limitations around it, and there was none of that. There were no restrictions. There's none of the stuff that the mind comes up with, all the doubt and the fear and the limited thoughts and all that kind of stuff. All of that is gone. If you just played in this energy just for 2 minutes and made this an exercise and started to get curious around what really lights you up. And when you start to tap into what really lights you up, don't turn it into an instant doing. Just simmer in that for a little bit and start to do more of that, or start to be present with that frequency, with that energy. Like, what would it feel like? How would you be acting or responding, or what would you be doing? Like, that's it. Like, oh, it would look like going for a walk because that's what you feel like doing, being free to go for walks when you want to go for walks, like whatever. It could be so silly, but that will guide you to your $1 million idea that will guide you to the next aligned opportunity that will align you to the aligned partnership, you getting real with what it is that really lights you up and trusting in what comes from that, from you fully declaring that and owning that and getting honest with that without judgment of what that means about you or how others will perceive you. Because most of you, if you're listening to this, it's likely your dreams are too small. Like there's something so much more profound and abundant and prosperous trying to make its way into your reality, and you're like clinging to crumbs, or you're clinging to an old, outdated way of working or something. Like you're clinging to the crumbs and the scraps because you're afraid you're not going to be abundantly supported and divinely prospered in your new timeline, which is impossible. But as long as you still cling out of fear and doubt, you won't be able to step fully into that timeline. So you have to be willing to honor your desires, whatever those are, and know that they are signposts of what is available to you, but it's also way beyond that. You're not going to be able to fully perceive what is about to make its way into your life, especially if you're resonating with this, because if you're on this timeline, it's going to blow your mind. Literally, it's beyond your mind. That's the whole point of this recording. It's beyond your mind. It's beyond conceptual, linear, logical thinking. You are not meant, this is coming through, you are not meant, 12:21 on the clock as I say this, you are not meant for a conventional success story. You are not meant for a conventional success story. And this will resonate with those who it's supposed to resonate with. You are not meant to fit in with the way everybody else is doing everything. You're meant to create something brand new through you, birth through you, whatever that is. Apply it to whatever your inner knowing is. Some of you have a very strong inner knowing for what it is you're here to do. And some of you are just stepping into that. And this isn't a conceptual knowing, this is an inner standing. But one thing you all have in common, if you're listening to this, is that you know you're here for something big. You know you're here to make an impact. You know you're here with a big mission on your heart. You know you're here to serve the collective in some way, shape, or form through your divine offerings or your gifts or your sacred medicine, whatever that is. And it's not going to come through the mind. And God's plan for you is so much bigger than what you can figure out. It's just a matter of when are you going to surrender to that and trust in that and follow the little breadcrumbs. I really do feel it's just like the carpet is rolling out as I walk it, and reality is shifting in real time to each and every big and small choice point that is rooted in higher frequency and lower frequency. But when you no longer entertain the lower frequencies that appear as doubt or as fear, because you just don't have time for that. It's not even something that is in your awareness, despite whatever your external reality is. And I know that's not going to make sense to the mind because the mind's going to give you a million different things to think about or worry about or try to fix or figure out. But when you're here present now, living in the moment, all of that subsides. And then you can focus in on just being here now and anchored in your presence. And the next thing is going to appear to you, whatever that is, the next aha moment, the $1 million idea, the divine download, the creative spark of inspiration. I know that as I share this, depending on what level of frequency you are abiding in, as far as like if you're listening to this with the egoic mind, it's going to feel very frustrating to you because the mind just wants to figure shit out. And it's not going to be fulfilling with what I just shared. It's not going to be fulfilling. And maybe this will even be motivating or inspiring you, or it's actually activating you on a deeper level, or this wouldn't be resonating. But then you turn this video off and then you go about your life and then you're right back to square one where you're trying to figure shit out again and you're all caught up in the mind with doubt and worry. And this is where your work is if that's your reality. If you turn this off and it was activating you and then you turn this off and you slip right back into the old identity of trying to fix and figure everything out, this is where your work is. This is where your work is. It's to breathe and come back into the present moment and follow the thread of divine inspiration. That's it. God's just using you as a channel or a vessel. You don't have to figure anything out. That should, at one point, be very freeing to you and feel like a relief to you, because it is. It's freeing and a relief when you realize none of this is up to you. You don't have to figure it out. You just get to surrender and go along for the ride. And paradoxically, when you do that, you automatically shift into your highest timeline, because when the divine is at the wheel and you're no longer resisting it, your frequency shoots through the roof, and now you're magnetic to everything that's in the highest and greatest good for you and everyone else. And it's not like it wasn't in the highest and greatest good when you were going through the valleys and all the things on this journey. That's all in your highest and greatest good too, but you're just not meant to be there anymore. That's old. It's over. You're not in your healing era anymore. You're in your being era. You're not here to fix and figure things out anymore and try to like compartmentalize everything and figure out the next steps and make your whole life a project and make you a project. You are not a project. You are not a project. You are a walking, talking, fucking miracle. And when you begin to see yourself in reality through the eyes of Source, you will see you don't have anything to fix or figure out. You just get to play and have fun. And reality, the external reality, will catch up to what you are being, your frequency, which you cannot fake. You can't fake this frequency. So if you turn this off and then you try to go affirm your way or journal a million things to try to work into this frequency, I'm sorry to say, but I have nothing against journaling and I have nothing against affirmations and things like that. But as long as you're coming from the separate sense of self, trying to fix or fill a void or a gap coming from lack or scarcity or fear or something that you feel you need outside of yourself in order to finally have the peace, the freedom, the ease, the love, the abundance, whatever it is, you will be holding it at bay and it will not be part of your direct experience. So this is about collapsing timelines and actually living it. And the only way you can do that is to actually live it and be it now. That's the only way, is to live it and be it now. So if there was any homework here, right? If there was any integration work, it would be to really tap into what it is you would truly desire from your heart of hearts if you knew and 100% trusted that whatever is in your heart of hearts is there for a reason. It's being pinged. You're being pinged for this very thing because the collective is calling it through you. And you knew it would be a wildly abundant, successful, divinely guided thing. Like it would be beyond your wildest dreams. It would provide in all the ways, like, because God doesn't work in shortage, God doesn't work in lack. God works in overflow, divine overflow. You are blessed on this journey to be a blessing to others. And that doesn't come from lack or scarcity or leading from an empty cup. It comes from divine overflow. So if you trusted that your desires were God-given and they were just the next logical thing, according to the mind, logical, but it's beyond that. To me, it actually makes logical sense just to follow the heart's desires. But I don't want to get caught up in the mind. So, but let's say you got your mind on board that this is the most logical step to follow, is what I am here to do, whatever lights you up, right? So you follow that. You have a fresh slate. There's no limitations or rules around it, whatever that is. Allow yourself to just feel what that is. Allow yourself to play in that curiosity. And then everything that's not that, say no to it. Everything that's not that. Everything that is not rooted in the essence of what you just declared for yourself. You begin saying no to everything that is not that. That requires you to be present, tapped into your body, trusting your body's intuition, because your body is like a barometer, always giving you feedback on what is in alignment or not based on how you feel. So you have to be able to trust yourself in this journey. You have to be able to trust the wisdom that is coming through the vessel. You have to be able to take action on that or don't take action on that, whatever the guidance is. And it'll challenge you and it'll get you out of your comfort zone because you're not here to recreate the past. There is no past. You're free. You have a total fresh slate to create and play in whatever paradigm or timeline you want to play from. But you're not going to be able to do it from the separate sense of self that's still trying to fix and figure out everything. The old timeline is dying and fizzling out of your experience, and that static from you switching your frequency from the old frequency to the new frequency is a sign that you are actually closer to collapsing those timelines than your mind would think, because your mind's telling you a story that you're stuck and going backwards. And to the degree that you believe that to be true and buy into that, and then allow your mind to lead and go down all the rabbit holes of doubt and fear, you will be delaying this collapsing of timelines into your highest divine reality. You cannot serve two masters on this journey. You cannot serve the egoic mind that's rooted in fear and doubt and insecurity and follow your heart's true divine inspiration. You're going to have to choose consciously and declare what you're available for and say no to everything else. And so a lot of the no that you'll be saying no to isn't even to external things outside of you, although you will be saying no to things if you haven't already, to jobs that are not aligned, relationships that are not aligned, living situations that are not aligned, all the things that are not aligned. But the thing that you're saying no to, and not from rejecting it, you can recognize it's there. You're not pushing it away, but you're not giving it your airtime anymore. So you're saying no to the fear. You're saying no to the doubt. It is a lie. The self-doubt is just a lie to keep you stuck in a familiar old timeline. That's it. At a certain point, you just have to discern what you're available for. Y- One of my old yoga coaches, when I was going through yoga therapy, this is coming up, he said, "You're an expert archer and you always hit your target." And he was talking about a story from the Bhagavad Gita, but and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm just gonna summarize it here. You are an expert archer and you always hit your target. What are you focusing on? Because that is where all of your power is right now. What are you focusing on? Right now, the energies are very amplified during this Lionsgate portal. Oh my God, if you're not feeling this, I don't know what's going on. The collective is shifting. You have shifted, and the energies are so expansive right now to support you in living your highest divine reality beyond what you thought was possible, but it's going to require that you are no longer giving airtime to the old identity and the old timeline and the old paradigm. You can't give it your focus anymore. So when fear comes up and when doubt comes up, at a certain point on this journey, there's nothing else to fix, right? Like you've gone through the fixing phase, you've gone through 3D, 4D consciousness where everything is a problem or a project, and you're on this never-ending self-healing journey and everything needs to be fixed or figured out and all the things. At a certain point on this journey, you just see it for what it is, and you don't give it your airtime or your focus anymore. It's just not a thing anymore. When it's not a thing anymore, when the doubt or the fear or the scarcity or the lack or all of those things just cease to be a thing anymore, like they're not even in your awareness. You may see certain things come up, but they don't, your focused attention, your focused awareness doesn't latch on to it anymore and make it some big thing that means something. You just see it for what it is and you move on. It's like a passing cloud in the big sky of your awareness. It's not something that you need to cling to or identify with anymore. And when you are no longer latching on to the self-doubt or the fear or the or whatever, and you're just adamant about that. Like you're not resisting it. You're just not giving it airtime anymore. It's like you're losing interest in it. You're so focused on expansion and joy and playing and fun that when something creeps in that is opposite of that, like fear or doubt, you stop trying to figure it out and wrestle it to the ground. You just don't give it airtime anymore. It's your awareness that amplifies it and then makes it part of your identity timeline, and then the field is just responding to the signal that you're broadcasting, and then the world reflects that back as a reflection. It's really simple when you break this down. It's very, very simple. You are the source. You are the power source. Stop giving all of your power away. Choose now. You can only do it now. You're never going to be able to choose it in the future. You're never going to be able to recreate the past, and you don't want to. Like, and you can't. You're only here now. So just choose now and move on with your merry life and make the mother effing decision and declare what you're available for. And then follow that and say no to everything else, which primarily will be the mind coming in telling you how it's not possible, all of the things you have to do before you can ever get there, how long it's going to take, how you're going to need to figure it all out. It's going to come up with all of the old ways that you used to do things, whether that's, relationships or um, whether it's business, whether it's how you earn money or whatever. Everything's getting flipped on its head. It's a complete 180. So you're not going to create your new highest divine reality from playing in past paradigms and timelines and old identities. The old identity must die. This is a funeral. Welcome to your old identity funeral. The death of the old version of you that lived from lack, limitation, and fear. That part of you has to die in order to be birthed anew and live freely and abundantly, fearlessly in your highest timeline. And the ego will go down kicking and screaming. And that's when you feel a lashing out. And that's when you feel a lot of resistance and all that. And all that is the static of the old identity, right? You shifting timelines between frequencies, and you're still feeling the static of the old identity because the ego goes down kicking and screaming until you stop giving it its power. Because really, you see right through that. The ego is fine. It exists and it doesn't exist. I don't want to make this transmission about this. It's there. You're going to have an individuated expression, and it's useful in that co-creative process, right? It's necessary. It's more than useful. It's necessary. Individuated expression of the one requires ego. So it's not even about getting rid of the ego. The ego will get on board with your highest divine expression once you take your rightful seat in your throne and put your crown back on as the divinely sovereign ruler and the divine creatrix of your life, and stop giving your power away by looking outside of yourself and buying into the doubts and fears of the mind. So I think that's it for now. I could talk about this forever, obviously. These get really long. I have no idea how long this is, but if this landed or resonated with you in any way, I would love it if you followed along, hit subscribe. There's a lot of fun announcements coming from playing in this new frequency and creating from this new frequency, which I will eventually announce on this channel, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. That being said, if you're still here and you made it all the way to the end, then this was definitely for you, because I said a lot of things earlier that you would have really been irritated and triggered by if this wasn't for you. So if you're still here, then you're part of this collective. Claim it in the comments. Say you're here now. You're here now, creating and living your best life. Claim it. Commit to honoring what what you feel is true, what feels joyful, what feels expansive, and get really, really discerning of when you are buying in to the limitations of the mind, the old thought patterns, the old conditioning, because that's all that's being fizzled out of your experience now. The new timeline that you are circling can only be here now and will only come through you being present here in the now. It will not come from you living from conceptual reality trying to figure it out. It's going to be completely beyond anything you've known. You're entering into the unknown, and that can seem scary. I know I've said this before, so I'm kind of being redundant, but it can feel scary at first, but then it's the most freeing thing. And the last thing you would want to do is put clamps on it by trying to control it or compartmentalize it or figure it out. It feels very restrictive at that point. At first, moving into the unknown and trusting the unknown can feel very scary because you're losing what appears to be control. But when you actually begin to fully surrender and trust in yourself, in the divine orchestration of your life, in the infinite intelligence that's running the show and is part of all of this. Like, it's absolutely absurd for you to think you need to figure anything out when you are one with all of the cooperative components, and infinite intelligence is running the whole show, and that is your true identity. So what is there to figure out? When the you think you are really, you no longer operate from the that identity, and you literally begin operating from the truth of who you are. There is no time, there is no past, there is no future. There is just here and now. There is no need to figure anything out. You Because it automatically will just like feel very restricting to you anyways, and it'll suck you back into the mind and trying to figure, and it'll feel so heavy. So at first it'll feel uncomfortable. At first it'll scare the shit out of you because the feeling of the loss of control on this journey, the ego, that really triggers your solar plexus chakra and your need to try to control things. But as that unwinds and divine will begins to take over and drive the train, and you surrender to this process, you realize that it's the most freeing thing that could ever happen. And it also, paradoxically, is when you're open to receive finally, because you're no longer restricting the vision that is way beyond what you ever thought was possible. And then you just relish in moment to moment to moment to moment in the unfolding of it. And it just gets better and better and better and better and more magical, if that's even possible, because it just continues to blow your mind. And just the pure joy of creating, that is a very high frequency. It's one of the highest frequencies you can be in. It requires your authentic expression, and you're in creative, joyful expression, creating whatever wants to come through you. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to figure out how it's going to work. Stop trying to figure out how it's going to pay your bills. Stop trying to put it into a framework that used to work for you, whatever that is. Apply it to your situation. That's what's holding you back right now the most, is trying to figure this out and put it into some kind of box to make sense of it. And at a certain point, you just jump off the cliff and you trust, and you fall with life, with the divine orchestration of everything that's unfolding in the moment. And paradoxically, this is when what appears to be miracles pour into your experience. And it's really just you aligning with the truth of who you are and living from that frequency. This is how life gets to be. Expect miracles. You get to expect the miracles, not from a place of needing something, but it's just the way reality works. It's when you are the power source and the God-given essence within you is leading. It's not anything the mind's going to figure out. So, okay, I think I'll end it there now. I'm going to jump, and if this resonated, let me know. And until next time, I hope this finds you well. Namaste.